My name is Franklin, and I'm an atheist.
How would you know at all if you're being accurate?
I've read a lot about religion.
What exactly does through Jesus Christ mean?
What is it about their religion that resonates with who they are? If not an anthropomorphic being, is there an enemy? How does their religion make them a better person?
Can you explain to me and anybody who doesn't know what a mitzvah is?
What do they think is missing about how we understand the world?
What would be the difference between praying on a subject and just thinking on a subject?
Why don't people have superpowers anymore?
I think it's important to talk to them and find out what they believe.
Oh, hello. I'm just here in my knockoff Veritech fighter, coming back from Trinidad and Tobago. I had an interview scheduled, and it turns out it was an online interview, so I'm flying back to do that now. Tell you what, I'm gonna land in this field over here and tell you all about it. Hello again. Sure glad that special effects part's over. Thanks again to those who are helping out on Patreon. The links are here and down below in the thingy. Once again, the questions are marked out on the YouTube timeline, so if there's a question in which you have a particular interest, feel free to skip ahead. Today's episode is on Shakti Hinduism, and our guest is in Trinidad. Normally I do this at the end, but here's the thing. Over 1/3 of Trinidad and Tobago's residents are of Indian descent. When slavery was outlawed in Trinidad, they still needed somebody to work on the sugar plantations. So they imported indentured servants from India, who brought their cultural traditions with them. And their descendants are still there to this day. I hope you enjoy the interview, and make sure you stick around for the end where I tell you some other thing you probably didn't know.
Hello and welcome to the What They Believe series. Today my guest is Head Pujari Rampersad of Sri Kali Amman Kovel in Trinidad. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So there are a lot of different types of Hinduism. Can you tell me with which one you identify?
I am a part of Shaktism. So Shaktism is the worship of the goddess Shakti as the primary deity. Shakti, the word itself, means power or energy. And the distinguishing factors, if you would have noticed, is that the other sects of Hinduism are actually based on male godhead. You know, the male patriarchic system is a big dominant theme in India. It still is even today. But I think with times and as society grows and it evolves, women have taken a more dominant role. In fact, females did have that high stature, which was equivalent to males, right? So Shaktism's main distinguishing factor is that our primary deity is a goddess. It's a very controversial topic because Shaktism has many themes that like oracleship, trance, animal sacrifice. We do have alcohol and tobacco, and that are items that are offered during our rituals. And these are not so prevalent within the other styles of worship. You know, you'll see that we have like a big chandan or big tikka on our foreheads. So red is the color that is associated with this power, with this energy. The denominations of Hinduism itself, they are polytheistic in theory, but they're actually henotheistic in practice. And I say this because there's about some 33 million forms of gods that we worship. It is not actually that they're individual gods. They're actually more like incarnations or like avatars of the same gods that have progressed throughout the times for different reasons, for different functions. So, you know, that's a big misconception that Hindus are polytheistic by nature. We all honor and worship one primary deity. In my following, it is Shakti that we do follow. We follow the teachings and the instructions that are pertinent to Shakti, the goddess.
But you said it's not polytheistic. Is it the same way that most Christians believe in the Trinity, which is the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, but they're not three separate gods, they're all aspects of God? And is that the same way it works for Hinduism, that, you know, Shiva or Kali or whatever, they're all aspects of the greater, I believe it's a Brahman, is that the right term?
Okay, Brahman is a very correct term. That is just God. So I said I am a Shakta, meaning I follow Shaktism. If you go to a Shaivite, those sections follow Shiva as their primary deity. But we all have the same books, you know. But when you go into the Shaivite section, the story will be the same, except you know, maybe the heroine might be Shiva, and in my section the heroine might be Kali. But we all have to follow Hinduism. Hinduism has one set of rules, so to say. There's like one set, and everybody has to follow it. And those rules come from the Vedas. So that's you know, I'm sure you must have heard about the Vedas. So we all have to follow the rules of the Vedas. We have to do that. As a Shakta, we have a long red chandan here, right? So now we know that as a Hindu of any caste, of any sector that you may choose, everybody always has something like right here. The purpose of it is because your Agni Chakra, which is right here, that's your third eye. So that is what is responsible for your foresight, for your spirit, to elevate your spiritual experience. So any substance that is used right here is something that is blessed within the worship. So now, as a Shakta, red, I told you, is our color. So this sindoor that we use for that, or sometimes it's called kumkum, K-U-M, K-U-M. This is a substance that is very near or favored by Shakti, by the god, right? So now we would offer that to her, you know, we ask for her blessings and then we apply it. But then sometimes you see other Hindus, they may have 3 lines across that are white. That's particularly Shiva. Some of them you might see a white U coming across. So Hinduism says you have to have something here on your third eye that is blessed. What now you choose as the substance is individualized.
Did you connect with Shaktiism through your family at a young age, or did you come to it later in life?
So originally, I am from New York. I was actually born there. I was raised there. I lived there for almost my entire life. So I led a very typical American lifestyle. I don't really know how to put this, but I grew up in a very Hindu home. They are not a part of Shaktiism. I would more associate them as maybe as a Smartan, because there's not one presiding deity. There are multiple that they choose. I love the mythology, but you know, it wasn't something that I was very drawn to. I kind of did it more out of obligation. It's not something that compelled me to do these things because I really wanted it. But you know, as I grew a little bit older, I started doing Indian classical dance. But you know, when you see like the goddess Kali, like that's frightening, it's scary, and my parents really didn't want to have anything to do with it. They were not opposed to it, but they're just like, all right, well, we can just choose a more peaceful looking god, you know, that'll be fine. So it wasn't, like I said, the goddess theme was not heavy in our house at all. Eventually I was like, you know, from little, I was always really fascinated with this goddess, but the more I started to learn about her is the more I fell in love. Then I started to visit, you know, Shakti or Devi temples, and I was like, wow, so this is what I'm missing. Like, that is the missing link to my life.
One of the more controversial aspects to your worship is the practice of animal sacrifice. What is your Kovel stance on animal sacrifice, and what does this accomplish?
That is a highly, highly controversial topic. Animal sacrifice is not mandatory in Shakti worship. At the Sri Kali Amman Kovel, we do practice animal sacrifice. We do engage in that, but we do not mandate it from any of the members or any visitors or anybody that comes. They do not have to partake in it. They do not have to witness it. The way we have it structured here is that there's a separate section where the sacrifice that happen, and you know, we always say whoever wants to witness it is more than welcome. The reason why it's so controversial, you know, to be honest with you, I don't really know why it's controversial, because everybody eats meat.
Well, actually, let me ask you about that. After you sacrifice the animal, what happens to the animal? Is it eaten?
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right. I agree with you. I don't see the controversy.
all the parts of the insides that can be eaten, we do eat it. The skin, we do keep that as well, and that's what our drums are made out of. So we do utilize the animal. I think it's become so controversial in these times. I mean, again, in the olden days, this was normal. But I think it's become so controversial because people are actually witnessing this being done. And again, I don't know why it's so controversial because people eat meat all the time and you really can't eat animals alive. I mean, I guess you could, but I don't know. I think it's so beautiful the way it's done here because, you know, we actually worship these animals and we thank them for being a part of our pujas. And we do pray that Hinduism believes in reincarnation, and we believe that there's levels and steps in reincarnations. But we do believe that if the animal dies within that of a sacrificial puja for you know, the goddess or any other deity that accepts it, the goddess then grants to them the opportunity to be reborn higher up the ladder. So I don't know what the exact ladder is, so I can't tell you how much steps they climb or what they're missing out. But you know, we do believe that you have to be born as like an insect or a bird, something that's small at first, and then how many of those small insects or birds you have to pass through before you can become a bigger four-legged animal, like a cow, a dog, a goat. You have to pass through that, and then after you pass through the series with the four-legged animals, then you can reach human state.
Two of the biggest questions for any religion is how did we get here and what happens next? But let's start at the beginning. How did the earth and humans get here?
So we did believe, like I said, Adi Shakti Parabrahm Sarupani is that cosmic egg, that cosmic ball of fire, well, kind of fire energy, cosmic ball. There's no masculine trait, there's no female trait, there's no face that is attached to it. It's the same way Christianity just says God. And the same way God created a trinity came from this cosmic egg. And the trinity is Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. So one was designated to be the creator, one was designated to be the preserver, and one was designated to be the destroyer. So in the job of the creator, Brahma created a human male, and his name was Manu. And that is why he wrote Manu Smriti, which is the laws of how humans should be living. And then they created a female companion for him. And then, well, it's very, very close to Christianity. They created one and then they started to repopulate because that was their job going forward.
What is one of the misconceptions that you would like to dispel about Kalikula form of Shaktism?
The biggest misconception about this worship is that we pray to a goddess named Kali and that she is just a bloodthirsty demoness and she has no respect and no regard for anyone. That's why if you see on the picture, she has one foot on a male that's lying down, and that male is actually Shiva, which is her husband, and she has no respect for him because she's stepping on his lifeless body and she's drinking blood and she's a savage, all of these very harsh things. In fact, the story of Kali is that she was created to be this way for one purpose. There was a demon in our myths and his name was Raktabij. His special power was that, let me just pause for 1 second. This is the thing about our worship that I love too. You don't have to be of a particular caste or creed or sex or anything in order for you to be accepted by the gods. Because this is a simple story of a demon named Raktabij, and he actually prayed to God for thousands of years. And they were satisfied with his self-sacrifice. And they came and they appeared to him and they granted him a wish. So he wished for immortality. So if we look into our Manusmriti, our guidelines, immortality can never be achieved. That is there is a cycle of life and death. Everything born must die. So they kind of, but God is us. They're very smart at the same time. So even though you as a demon think that you're getting this wish, they really know what's gonna happen. So they have to line up a certain play for you. So God said, okay, hear this. You want immortality, it's not gonna happen. But if you want, we can grant to you the fact that every time you are injured or cut in war, when one drop of your blood falls to the ground, 1,000 more of you will spring up. So you can create your own army. So he was like, yeah, that's like the best deal in the world. I'm all for it. Thanks so much. So of course, he just prayed to God. And what did he go do? Overthrow God, because he wanted the throne and wanted to take over the heavens. So now they were kind of like in a shamble as to what to do. So they had to go to the goddess Shakti and tell her, listen, this has gone out of control now. Like, we're trying to kill him. And well, that's when they realize instead of dying, he's actually multiplying. Now there's millions of him all over and we don't know how to get it under control. So she had to take a form of a warrior, and she had to come and she had to go into battle. But what she had to do in order to defeat him was there was something called a soma. That's it's very close to a wine, but it's not wine. It's very close to a wine, and it's a type of nectar that does cause an intoxication. She is our mother at the end of the day. The goddess, we always refer to her as the mother. That is the Amman. When you see Sri Kali, Amman, Kovel, Amman means mother. So Sri Kali, Amman, Kovel is the mother Kali's Kovel or temple.
From the videos on your YouTube channel, I noticed some fire rituals. I did see buckets of water present in case something went wrong, but I see walking on hot coals, candles, even what looked like fire eating. What is the significance of fire in your worship?
Because we believe fire, who we call Agni. Agni has the capacity to be a witness to deeds that are happening throughout Earth. So his job is to be a witness. So same thing now, like when people are behaving unjust, he knows the truth and he is the one to really promote the truth. Fire by nature burns, right? It burns without discretion, right? So I mentioned a little bit that going into a trance is something that's kind of indigenous to Shakti worship. When we go into a trance, we are saying that the higher spirits, which are the gods, right? Well, another level of gods, let's say, are now inhabiting the human body, taking possession of the human body so that they can act as oracles. They can tell you without knowing you, obviously. They can tell you your past, your present, your future, and even provide solutions or antidotes for any problems that you may be experiencing at the time. Now, how do we know that, it's me that has this Shakti that we call it? Because remember, Shakti means power, energy. How do you know it's me that actually has the Shakti that put me in a trance? Or how do you know it's not me just dancing and just pretending I'm in Indiana Jones, So Agni is the one who stands for truth, right? On a human body, we have to use our tongue to speak the truth. So we use the fire to put it on our tongue 3 times. So if you noticed in the video, we actually have to take our hand, put it in the fire to pick up a block of camphor, and then place it and hold it there 3 times in a row, right? Agni now purifies the mouth of any, remember, we're humans, so we do breathe in certain things, we do maybe eat things that are contaminated unknowingly, right? So they purify that vessel, and they also stand witness for those to tell the truth, right? We are also showing within this act that this is no longer just a human body. This is no longer me pretending I'm dancing in a movie, right? There is something that is here to protect this body, because as a human, you can't just pick up a flaming block of camphor from within a bigger fire, hold it, and put it on your tongue, and then put it back and do it again and put it back and do it again, right? So that kind of proves to those who are witnessing the act that, okay, there is a level of Shakti that is on the body. We do use the fire on the ground, and we kind of arch our heel, the arch in your foot, to go over the fire, because that's actually one of the most sensitive parts of your body, believe it or not. So if that is burned, then you are not going to be able to stand up on it. You're not going to be able to stand up on it. So that's the second test to show that it is true, a Shakti is there. And then the third test is with rope. We actually braid the rope. It's actually the same ropes that we use in like marine, like by boats and stuff, to anchor down like the boats and the sails and stuff. So you braid it, soak it, and then you do get 3 lashes on it. But again, the Shakti is taking over the body, so the body itself does not experience any pain or any residual effects. You mentioned the fire, the walking on the fire. That's actually for 2 reasons. The first reason, ritualistically, why we do it is because, again, Agni has the power to burn and remove sins. So that's why human bodies are cremated, as according to Hinduistic rites. We are cremated, so we ask for any sins that the body may have incurred to be burnt, and then it's a quicker way for the body to return back to its natural state instead of taking the time to decompose, right? So Agni has the power to burn sins accrued in your life. So we believe that when you go through and you experience this fire pass, that it kind of takes away some of those sins that we have incurred. So when it's time for us to go, there's less of a burden that we have to take. On the spiritualistic side, so that's ritually. On the spiritual side, again, we're going back to this sentiment, this thing called bhava, the inner love, the inner sacrifice. And what we are saying is that we have this much faith in you, to our Shakti, to our mother, to our Devi. We have this much faith into you that I am a human and I can walk on these coals and you will protect me and I will not have any burns, any marks, or any damages done. So that's the reason.
Do you have a favorite passage from scripture?
It says, woman is the creator of the universe. The universe is her form. Woman is the foundation of the world. There's no prayer equal to a woman. There's not, nor has been, nor will be any yoga to compare with a woman. No mystical formula, nor asceticism to match a woman. And I really love this quote because it embraces the act of female empowerment, which is, it's a significant factor that needs to be realized by society. I mean, right now we're in a time where domestic abuse and rapes and murders of females are at its highest, and females are constantly being victimized just based on their gender. And I think as a female in a prominent position, we need to stand together and we need to embrace each other a little bit more and demand the same respect of our counterparts. We have to kind of stop fighting with each other. And even in the world of Shaktism, there's very few female head pujarins. This is a male-dominated worship, and I always wondered how can we be a worship that's founded on a female goddess, but it's dominated by males. And I think that was one of the contributing factors to give me that anxiety to just drive forward and excel and prove to everyone that I can be just as good as a male. So that's one thing. I do think that females need to stand together and they need to exert positivity amongst the gender and hope that society will now stop victimizing us just based on simple gender.
I'd like to thank my guest, Dana Rampersad, for speaking with me here today, and I should do so now. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a great session. I hope we have many more to come, and I hope you come visit us today and experience that enthusiasm and that Shakti that I talked about throughout this hour.
Here's the thing. Any list of the most important discoveries made by a human would have to include penicillin. And if I were to ask someone who discovered penicillin, they would answer Alexander Fleming in 1929. Like most things, it's more complicated than that. Antibacterial medicine has been in use for centuries in various parts of the world, and Fleming's bread mold penicillin did not produce much usable medicine. It wasn't until 1943 that while working for the Department of Agriculture, Mary Hunt discovered a similar mold on a cantaloupe. This mold produced 100 times more usable medicine, and after mutating it with X-rays, it produced 1,000 times more. Penicillin has saved hundreds of millions of lives, and for his efforts, Sir Alexander Fleming received a Nobel Prize, and Mary Hunt gets me talking about her on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and may the road rise with you.